Marduka Christensen. I am your host of tonight. I'm the moderator of this conversation. Welcome to Bart Scholtissen. And we are going to wait for 30 seconds. So I'm going to build up the tension a little bit to see if everyone is on board. So give us 30 seconds and then we will start. Thank you.
I see the number of participants rising, so people are entering.
I see some people that I know. Hello. There we are again. Just tell me, Bart, when you get too nervous and you want to start, huh?
Well, in case I get too nervous, I just get up and walk out. That's the benefits of doing things online.
That is the unfuck yourself part.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's all good, you know. I see.
Yeah, I don't see any new attendees, so I would propose to get started.
Cool.
Welcome again at the International Mental Health Festival. It is wonderful to be here. I am your host of tonight. I'm going to make a small introduction and then I will introduce you to our speaker, Bart Scholtissen. Hello, Bart. Nice that you are here too. Bart has a very catchy title, and that is also, I somehow asked the organization of this festival if I could please moderate this one. It is Unfuck Yourself. Yes, pleased to meet you. The last art of being you. And Bart will soon explain what he means with that. As I said, I'm your host of today. I'm Marduka Christensen. First, before the introduction, I would like to talk a little bit about Corona. Yes, we have not heard enough about Corona, but Corona times means letting go of the old. And it also tests you a little bit. It tests you, how adaptive are you actually? Did you even like what you were doing? Do you like this new environment? Does it make you creative? Who am I actually? And if I look around, I see a lot of people struggling. But I also see a lot of people that are extremely creative and find new ways to be busy. And we are challenged. If you look at restaurants being closed and yeah, there's still people on the pay rise, so they still need to be paid. And still being creative in this time, that requires something. Bart will take you along his journey, and he has had a journey, as I understand. We talked a little bit beforehand, and I also read a little bit about you. He left the academic world. Yes, he's a very intelligent person due to a major burnout. And it's very good that he actually just puts that out in the open, but because that is also what we want to create with this mental health festival, that mental health is not something to be ashamed about if you don't feel that well for a period of time. It's actually a sign of strength. Anyway, burnout is not that bad. Actually, it makes you feel bad, but it also puts everything back on zero. And you can start from zero again. And Bart will tell you about his journey from zero onwards. I asked Bart how he wanted to be introduced, and it was actually quite nice. Because I was thinking PhD, neuroscience, personal coach, it was all very impressive. And he said, tell them that they should not trust me. Don't trust anything I'm saying. Just create your own truth. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I know how to get rid of the bullshit and how you can reinvent yourself and maybe someone gets inspired. I hope someone gets inspired. That's it. And when I asked him, do you want me to ask any questions? He said, yeah, well, maybe my shoe size or show me your feet. So I'm going to ask that. And in the meantime, Bart just hopes that we are going to have a good time. So to start with some practicalities after this long story, we would like it to be very interactive. So if you want and dare, and feel free to do so or not, you can share your screen with us. We have a chat open. You can raise your hand so you can ask questions anytime. Bart, you wanted it to be free and out in the open.
Yeah, correct.
Good. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Maduka,
and I'll keep an eye on everything here.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, well, welcome everybody out there at some place in the world. I'm very, very honored and thankful that you're here, giving me your time and your attention. And yeah, as Maduka also said, I would really like to make this as interactive as possible, because I think, like a lot of speakers, me as well, I'm used to standing in front of a crowd and interacting with that crowd, and staring at the green dot next to a camera on a screen is a lot less personal than I would like to be a session like this. So in case you want to turn your camera on so that I can also see you, please feel free. In case you don't want to do that, feel free too.
Bart, what I understand is that we cannot share the video. I heard that from our technician at the background. Cool. But we will keep on trying, but don't feel depressed when you don't see any. I think most probably there will be people trying to get the camera on, but it just does not work.
Yeah, we were checking that beforehand, whether it was possible, and in other Zoom calls that I've done, it was. But if it's not possible, it's not possible. Then you just moderate questions that might pop up at any time. So I don't necessarily look forward to having a big Q&A. A big Q&A at the end of the session. But if questions arise, Maduka will break in and come up with the questions so that I don't need to keep track of them, and I'll just go on with my talk. Cool. Well, we're off. I want to take you on a journey. And there will be some shots of nature. There will be some text. I never know which slide comes next. I prepare talks and then I shuffle slides again, because I want to be in the moment, as connected and present as much as possible. And if I already know which slide is coming by heart, then I'm dozing off. So I knew this one, and the rest is going to be a surprise for me too. So that means that we're in the same boat, and yeah, we're gonna go for a nice journey. This photo was taken 3 days ago when I was walking out in nature, a place in a national reserve nearby. And I was looking down this path and was thinking, yeah, that this depicts what I do with people. I take people into nature to let them reconnect with their nature. And that means that I take people off the highway of the pattern, the collection of patterns that make their living, that make their life what it is at that time and point. Because usually we travel high speed from A to B, go to work, go home, or work from home, and keep on going. And it's only a fairly small amount of people that sort of deviate from that main route without a reason, just out of pure curiosity. And I also needed a reason, and the burnout that Maduka was talking about was my reason to deviate from that highway that I was stuck on, that I was constantly in a traffic jam on. So this picture to me is an important one, because it's a dust road. People have walked there, and I didn't come down this road. I came from out of the bushes on the left, and I went on into the bushes on the right, because I like to go off track. But when I saw this shot, I thought, okay, I'm going to use that in the talk. So let's go on a journey for the coming, 60, 70 minutes. We'll see how long it takes. Yeah, and I'll just share something about my life, my past, And I'll ask questions that you do not necessarily need to answer immediately, but maybe take them home, maybe write them down somewhere, and think about it tonight, maybe tomorrow, when you sort of come back to this lecture or this talk that I was giving, and maybe think, but that was an interesting question. Let's work with that for the coming period. Cool. So who am I? My name is Bart, but you probably all read that when you signed up. Everything I do revolves around getting back to your nature. So how to rethink and create a happy, healthy, and strong life. And during the talk, I hope to give you seeds that you can water that will help you create a happy, healthy, and strong life. Because I'm fully convinced that we all have the innate capacity to create this life for ourselves. And and I'll take you along on some learnings that I have stumbled upon over the last few years. So the title, as Maduka already said, Unfuck Yourself, the lost art of being you. Because long story short, I believe the best thing that any of you can be is you, not somebody else, not living up to somebody else's expectations and not living your own life, but just be you. And we sort of lost connection with that. So I hope to get you reconnected with that a bit during the coming session. To me, everything in life is a learning experience nowadays. And I wasn't before my burnout. I see life as one big playground nowadays with challenges every day, stress every day. But we all have a choice. We have a choice to approach life as a learning experience or as a burden or something more negative. And once I changed this perspective of looking to life from it being a burden or heavy to, I can learn stuff. I can be thankful for the cool stuff that happens, but I can especially also be thankful for the negativity that is there in my life, because it's not all peak experiences. I think that would be rather boring, as a matter of fact. So we need ups and downs. So that's why I approach my life as a playing field of a learning experience nowadays. Maybe you can do the same. So as Maduka already said, do not believe everything you think, and also do not believe what I say today. And to me, these are important slides. The last one, do not believe everything you think, implies that you have thoughts and that you are not your thoughts. So we are much more than just our thoughts. And the life I was living when I was still in neuroscience, working at the university, doing research, giving lectures, I was my thoughts. Everything I thought I acted upon. I either put an emotion to it or an act. And so I was a living thought machine. And I believed that everything I was thinking was the truth, because I didn't know better. Nobody had ever challenged that perception until the moment came that I had to challenge it myself when I hit rock bottom during my burnout. I'll go into that later on. So I learned to not believe your thoughts, because they're just thoughts. You've got a choice. And once I started doing that, which also is for a large part basis of meditation, I've learned to observe thoughts and choose whether to do something with them or not, depending on what feels good or not. So that's why I also say, do not believe anything that I say tonight, because anything that I will be saying, anything that I will be telling you tonight is a truth, a vision upon reality, my vision upon my reality, which can be totally different from your vision on reality. So do not believe anything I say just like that, but create your own opinion, create your own value and your own truth on that. And if you think, okay, this is a lot of bullshit, that's fine too, because that's your truth then. And I think the more we get to a state in which we can respect each other's points of view on maybe the same topic, maybe different topics, the more connected we will be and the more balanced this planet, this life will be here. So we can totally agree to disagree and be okay with that. All right, so who am I? Well, you already saw me talk for a couple of minutes now. And when I made this slide, I was thinking, yeah, okay, who am I? It's logical that at the beginning of lecture, you tell something about who you are. But then I was thinking, but this lecture, it's not about me. It's about you. So I'm actually more interested in who you are on the other side than I think that it's interesting to talk about, especially who I am. But I also believe that we, for a large part, are the same. We're humans, we're animals, we're mammals, we're living on this planet. And yeah, my name might be Bart, and Maduka's name is Maduka, and then there will be lots of other names as well. But who are you? And what do you want to be? And who do you want to be? You already in the introduction, Maduka, sort of touching upon this. And to me, these questions have become more and more important during my life over the last few years, because I had never given that any deep thoughts in my career or my life before my burnout. Everything was just like sort of happening. Apparently, I had a nice brain. I had a nice pair of brain in my head, so I was able to learn. I went to university. I studied, got my PhD. Sometimes wondered why I was doing that, but then I just left it at that and just kept on going and going and going and going, because I thought, well, this is what I'm supposed to do apparently. So I never given the question, who do you actually want to be, or maybe even better, who are you, any deep thoughts, up until the moment that I had to start thinking about it when I crashed in my burnout. And I think it's an important question. So this might be one that you want to write down and want to think about or ponder about, and maybe you already have spent some time and energy on thinking about, so who am I? Beyond the name, beyond the profession, beyond the social contacts, and who do I want to be? And as I already said at the beginning, I think the only thing or one that you can be is you. And the more you are you, the more balanced and happy and healthy your life will be. So next question might be, whose life are you living? Are you living your life at this time and point? You're probably somewhere on this planet, in a box, a room, like I am, and yeah, this is my living room. This is my house, and I like to believe and feel that I am living my life more now than I have been doing that over the last few years. But that also means making choices, and maybe disappointing others, and maybe not living up to expectations of others. So yeah, give this question a thought too. Whose life are you living? Are you living your own life? And I think that's the only life that you can actually live. But I also feel that a lot of people, maybe even more in these crazy challenging times that we're living in now, are living somebody else's life. And I hope that these times that we're going through, the phase that we're going through, will inspire people to live their own lives more and create a more beautiful, better connected life together on this planet.
Can I ask you something, Bart?
Yeah, sure.
How do you make sure that you keep on living your life? Because it is, I experience it to be one of the most difficult things, even though I also had a burnout and the reboot, so to say, and you start looking things at things differently. But how do you maintain that road somehow and not being caught again by life and what everyone else expects of you?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I think the most simple answer I can give is be ready to stop moving and observe and go inward and listen to what your body is telling you, because the thoughts in your head might be telling you something else. But I've started asking my body questions. I've started trusting my body again, instead of only trusting the ideas and the thoughts that I had been learning in my life. So we all know gut feeling, female intuition, maybe even male intuition. I think that also exists. So by tuning into that and listening to it, you have a very, very powerful tool in your hands that can help guide you to live your life, to stay on that path that you are creating for yourself. And you've got this this quote that says, if you see a path ahead of you and you know for sure that this is your way, then be sure that you're wrong. And I keep repeating that. I'll explain it in a second, because if you see a path in front of you, like the path on the photo, for instance, a few slides back, that's not your path. You can travel on that path, but it's not your path because it was already there. And so if there is no track, no trail, no road ahead of you, then you're doing something new, then you're creating your life. So that's why I also like to go off-road instead of keeping on that road, that highway the entire time. And sometimes it's easy, you can just go from A to B faster, because usually
it's also a scary thing, isn't it? It's also scary because you need to let go and you don't have anything to hold on to.
Yourself. Because I think we're used to holding on to, we've got this attachment issue, so to say. We're holding on to ideas in our head. We're holding on to other people, to ideas we have about the relationships we have with other people, which is a totally normal human construct. But the amount of attachment we have also keeps us from being connected with ourselves. So the art, maybe I should have named the talk The Art of Letting Go, or The Art of Disattachment, because those are things that really help me to be more attached to myself. And that doesn't make this a more egoistic, self-centered world. No, it actually improves connection, because I believe that if your connection to yourself is good, then your connection to others can also be good. Usually, sometimes I have a slide here that asks, do you love yourself? And I need to keep asking myself that question on a daily basis. Okay, am I okay? Do I love myself? Does it feel good? Yeah. But when I'm in front of a crowd and I ask that question to people in the crowd, like maybe 20-25% might raise their hands like, yeah, I love myself. And then a lot of people be like, ooh, I don't know. Or just straight out, no. And then I say, but there is a lot to love there, you're all beautiful people. So these are things that help me go beyond that fear of not being good enough. I had that for a long time, not being equipped enough or able enough to do the stuff that I want to do. So I need to keep on challenging my view on reality. Hope this answers the question a bit.
Absolutely. Does not make it easier, though.
No. But maybe life wasn't meant to be easy. Maybe life was meant to be challenging, and maybe by coming out, by getting outside of that comfort zone, we learn new stuff, and that's the moment that we grow. And sometimes we can just lay back and let life happen. But it's not easy. I'm very, very happy and grateful, but my life is not easy. I don't want it to be.
Agreed. Beautiful.
Yeah, thanks. So this is a slide shortly getting back to who I am, so that you as a crowd sort of have more of an idea to who this guy is. This was me, or at least a sort of a figure of me when I was still in science. And even the pointy finger is correct, because I can remember when I was teaching neuropsychology and neuropsychiatric disorders, I was fully convinced that everything that I had learned out of books was the truth. So I was telling it like, hey guys, you should learn this. This is important. While I know now that it's just a version of the truth, and there are so many truths out there. So this is my pre-burnout. I still had hair then, by the way. Never wore the glasses, but did have the white jacket on when I was in the lab. And it was pretty, not very wide, not open. I was in my head a lot, preoccupied with my thoughts a lot. And then I crashed, and then I realized that, okay, I have to reinvent myself, reconnect with who I am beyond that pointy finger, that white jacket, the title that I have. Yeah, so who am I? And I needed to look at life in a different way. So I found out that there are three things certain in life, in this lifetime. And there might be people in the audience that believe in multiple lifetimes. I do. But in this lifetime, there are three things certain. One is you enter this life. You are born into this life at some point. The second one, we are mortal. We are mortal beings. So we will end at some point. And that also makes that this life is not a competition, because we do not get out alive. And the third certainty to me in this life is change. And some people call change stress or anxiety or fear or whatever. But change, actually, the way you deal with change on a day-to-day basis, on a minute-to-minute basis, creates your reality. And I was, to a certain extent, pretty narrow-minded. I had my vision of reality, and I thought that was the reality. And now over the last few years, I'm opening up more to other realities, other cultures, other influences of people, and that's heartwarming for one, but also it opens up your perspective on what this world is about and what's happening. So change is a very important one. And since I realized that, I've been changing my life on a daily basis. This is just a small collage of what an average month in my life or day in my life might look like. A lot of nature, my beautiful family with 4 kids, being outside in nature, playing around. I've become way more playful than I was when I was still in science. And I would wholeheartedly advise that to everybody. Kids play. Grown-ups have lost the art of playing, or at least have let go of that a bit. But we can get back to that, and a playful approach, like the learning experience, like the playground in front of us, is way nicer than just being in your head the entire day. And since I've been doing that, my life has become way more colorful than it was when I was still in science.
That also has to do with your brain, doesn't it? As a neuroscientist, you know a little bit about that. Your brain somehow also wants to be rational a little bit, and the playfulness is in the other part of your brain, and it's controlled by the rational part of your brain. Yeah, I'm just telling it as a normal person from the streets, actually.
Yeah.
And it is a battle, a constant battle between those two parts of your brain, isn't it?
Yeah, to a certain extent it is. We have trained ourselves, a generation to become more and more rational, more brain-based, instead of the combination between the two. I can remember that one of the phrases my coach told me when I was being coached out of my burnout is, she said to me, like, where is everything beneath your head? You're just here, and there is nothing. You do nothing with that body. You've got this biochemical factory there that is sending info into your system, but you're not doing anything. You're just thinking. So you're almost invisible, man. You need to change something. But that's maybe to a certain extent the life that we have been creating over the last decades with each other. It's all control, stress, fear, 24/7. It never stops. And then we all have like a thing like this, a telephone in our pockets, and that just keeps on pumping new info into our systems every second of the day. And we think it's normal, and we think we are able to deal with that on a minute-to-minute basis. But the system is not able to deal with that. So we need to sort of move beyond. One of the other things I found out, besides that change is one of the most important certainties, was that I was afraid. I was afraid to be me. At first I didn't even know who I was. So I had to check into that. I had to dig deep to find that little playing kid inside of me that is my core, that is in each and every one of you. And I found out that I actually was afraid. I was afraid to tell my boss that I wasn't feeling well. I went to, when I got into my burnout, I went to the company physician. I told him my story. And I said, yeah, you know, do you have something like a pill or something for it? And then because, you know, goals, targets, deadlines, I need to keep on going. I don't have time for this. Go, 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 go. And he was like, yeah, but you know, we've got a name for this. It's called a burnout. It's good that you're here now and not like 2 months down the road, because you might have entered on a journey or not at all. Go to your boss and go tell him that you're going to change things. You're going to work less. You're going to take better care of yourself. And then I just broke out in cold sweat and thought, oh God, now I need to be open and vulnerable. And how the hell am I going to do that? So I was afraid. And turned out I was afraid of quite a few things that I wasn't aware of, but especially afraid of being me and sharing that with other people. So being vulnerable about my situation. And nobody and nothing in science had ever taught me to be vulnerable, and that it's okay to be vulnerable. I had to learn that. And so I had to go beyond that fear, be open, be vulnerable, and actually find out that being vulnerable and open is one of the most powerful things that you can do. So you've got this choice. You've got this choice to create a new start and to create a new form of balance in your life if you choose to look on the other side of fear, to see what you can learn there. Because I think a lot of people will probably recognize that at some point you will end up at a point and you think, I'm afraid, I'm going to turn around. And this as being a metaphor, but in work, in private life, whatever, you will have moments that you think, nah, I'm going to bail out. I had those moments. Yeah, I had those moments a lot. But now I've learned myself that it's most of the times, it's not the fear of that specific thing, it's the fear of fear. You don't want to be afraid. So if you just take a deep breath and take a leap of faith, which takes a huge amount of, I think maybe courage, maybe that's the right word for it, or at least a huge amount of letting go. And then you take that leap of faith, then you will enter this whole new time zone, this whole new level, and you will create a new form of balance. And balance is not a straight line. Because I think a lot of people, but I would love to hear from people in the audience what their ideas about balance are. But to me, balance is not a straight line. And so it's not waking up in the morning, getting to work and just, you know, rocketing through the day and then crashing at the end of the day. Now, I don't think that's a balanced life, but yet a lot of people live a life like that. And when you look at nature, and that's why I put this image here. When you again look at nature, there are hardly any straight lines. It might look like the grass is a straight line, but when you zoom in, you will see it's rounded. There are hardly any straight lines in nature. And it might look chaotic, but if you zoom out, it'll actually look beautiful and balanced again. So by looking at nature, I learned a lot about balance, about challenging yourself, about going sometimes to extremes, and not being afraid anymore. Things will pass, you know, the sun will rise tomorrow again. And I took that at heart and I started living a less fearful life. And that opened doors of which I was never able to guess that they would have been there when I was still in that narrow-minded, anxious state of mind that I was in the period leading up to my burnout. So what is chaos? And maybe we need a bit of chaos, and maybe chaos is the actual structure. Maybe think about that for a few seconds. Yeah. And when you look at kids, this is my youngest daughter, they are not as afraid as we are. Fear is something we learn, and there are some innate fears. But when I look at my youngest daughter, she just, she takes her shoes off. Maybe she sees her dad do that. She takes her shoes off. She goes into the forest, and she just goes to play there, and without fear. And sometimes she, like this swing she was on, it was a fairly tall one. She was like, can I do that? And then she will look at me like Pippi Longstocking, like, oh, I never did it, so I think I can do it. Yeah, let's go there. And then I just let her. And then she climbs on and starts having fun. And if we take an example from the kids that we are raising, that the kids that should take care of us when we're old, I think we can learn a lot there. A lot of being in the present moment, not being as fearful, not being as avoiding, as like, oh, let's just not address this topic because, yeah, maybe we hurt somebody's feelings. If you open up, vulnerable, with the right intention, beyond fear, I think we're able to learn so much. So actually seek discomfort. And that this might be an answer to the question you asked a couple of minutes ago. How do you stay on that track of living your life? Well, I seek discomfort actively. And maybe a number of you will think, yeah, but you're crazy. Why would you do that? You could stay in your comfort zone and it's nice and warm and fluffy there. Yeah, that's true. But you don't learn anything new there. So I've created this life for myself where I seek discomfort on a daily basis. And that discomfort starts when I get out of bed early in the morning. I put, also now it's getting more fresh outside, I put shorts on and a shirt on and I go outside. So it's cold and most people will wear warmer clothing. I don't. I challenge myself. I take cold showers. I take ice baths, jump out of planes, walk up mountains in shorts, just to be able to experience what life at the edges is about, so that in the middle, I can live a more balanced, happy and healthy life. And sometimes that means taking those shoes. Those are not my feet, by the way. This was last week when I gave a workshop and one of the participants was so kind to just pose for me while she was walking down the stairs when we were doing some barefooting. When I ask people in team trainings or group sessions to take their shoes off, a lot of people will already think, oh, but this is very, very uncomfortable. And then I'll explain to them, yeah, but there is a reason for doing this. Because when you seek the discomfort, you can learn something new. So the group I was with last week, they were open, and so they took their shoes off. It was dark, and which was also an added effect to the search for discomfort. And they started walking around on their bare feet. It was cold. It was about 2 degrees at night, and they learned new things. They also reconnected with themselves. So sometimes you just actively got to seek out discomfortable situations to learn something new. Because we have been domesticating ourselves. We have not only domesticated our pets like dogs and cats, but we have also been domesticating ourselves. And maybe it's time to go beyond fear. So put a big cross through fear. Be ourselves. In the core more. There is nothing wrong with fear or stress when it is immediately. So in the present moment, when there is a tiger in front of you that wants to eat you, yeah, you should do something. You have your fight or flight reaction. But we create this chronic state of fear that we're living in, and the current situation isn't helping everybody out with that as well. But let's go beyond that fear and open our minds up, and then rewild a bit. And you'll be able to do crazy stuff like walk up mountains in very, very cold temperatures. Together with my friend the Iceman, he's somewhere in the middle there, to experience that we are capable of doing so much more than we can ever think we are. But that means that you have to actively seek that discomfort and take that step outside of your comfort zone to find out that we can do stuff like this. Without freezing, without dying, without panicking. It's all good.
Where was this part?
This photo was taken 2 years ago in the south of Poland, where I'm one of Wim Hof's, the Iceman's academy instructors. So we train new people in the Wim Hof method to become instructors. And this is on Mount Śnieżka, which is in the south of Poland. It's one of the windiest places in the world, at least in Europe. You've got horizontal icicles on the railing over there.
My God.
It was about minus 25 degrees there.
You are a bikkel, as we call in the Netherlands.
No, this is mindset. So, and it's also self-love. Love yourself enough to seek discomfort, to learn new things, go beyond the fear. Go into nature. Nothing is comfortable in nature. Nothing is straight lined in nature. So get out more and experience nature more. It doesn't always have to be ice cold as the last slide. Sometimes nice warm temperatures are okay as well. Connect with nature more. There are a gazillion ways to reconnect your own nature. We are nature. This is nature, people, with nature outside. I organize, for instance, expeditions in Norway where I take people out into harder nature than here in the Netherlands, for instance. And we just, we paddle, we camp, we do wild camping, we reconnect with ourselves. And the thing is that a few years ago, I can remember it quite vividly. One of my participants there was Kim Kleisters, the former tennis pro player. And I was talking to her on the day before we were there for the last day. And she said, tomorrow I'm flying to Paris because I have to play the seniors at Roland Garros, the French Open. And I'll be in a 5-star hotel with all luxury and gold and glitter and glamour. And I actually do not feel like going. Because here, in this tent that we were sitting in, out in the fjords in Norway, she said, I'm totally here. I'm present. I'm happy. All is good. We don't need that external bling bling, so to say, to just be. And that's what I see when I take people out in nature, any place in the world, also here in the Netherlands, is that when we go out into nature, people go inside and reconnect with themselves and find out that, yeah, we don't need all that external stuff. We don't need all those accomplishments and big things. It's here. It's happening here, right in front of us, right now, right inside of us. So that's the beauty of nature. And by being outside more, we might also get a bit wilder. Oh, this is interesting. Oh yeah, instead, I was thinking, instead of what? Well, all the seek discomfort I was talking about just a moment ago takes extra energy. It also gives you a lot of energy, but the steps that you initially have to take to go there take up some extra energy. And I can imagine that when people are not fully fit, fully happy, healthy, and strong, they would much rather stay inside, stay warm, take a warm shower instead of a cold shower. So choose the path of least resistance. It's easier. But as we already sort of concluded upon, maybe life is not meant to be easy. Maybe life is meant to be lived. And that's not always easy. And I also think that in mental health care, sometimes the quote unquote easy road is taken. And mainstream mental health care for the last decades hasn't been coming up with big inventions or medicine or like new therapeutical things. No real huge changes. It's all been little steps. But the essence might be that we get disconnected by all those steps that have been taken in life and also in healthcare, and we just need to unfuck ourselves, let go of a lot of stuff, and go back to the core. Also in mental health care. And what I see is that sometimes people need to wait with, for instance, mood swings or depression. They need to wait for months on end before they can go to a doctor or a physician or a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And what happens in the meanwhile? So we've created a crazy system. So maybe we should just open up to the fact that we have complicated things too much. And by going back to the core, going outside, taking your shoes off, reconnecting your nature with nature outside, people feel better. People become more balanced, more happy, healthy, and strong.
Misha zegt, daarom Oh My Mood. Dus an organization of, that's why Oh My Mood, the organization of the International Mental Health Festival. And I totally agree. And I think that even though normal mental health is good and absolutely necessary, it can be put a little bit broader than that, a little bit more holistic. And that is also what I hear you say. And can I ask a question then? Because it is also, I have a thought. And for me, my experience was a little bit that the world outside expects a lot of us, or we expect a lot of ourselves. It is both, of course.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just good to be. And I hear you say, yeah, you need to challenge yourself. You need to feel discomfort. And but what about just be?
That's like, I think three or four slides down the road. It's a combination of both. It's very good that you state this. It's because it is about balance again. So in order to grow, if you look at nature, nature is never stagnant. Nature is always growing and evolving. And in that, it's being. That's, at least that is how I see nature. So by actively leaving your comfort zone, actively seeking discomfort, growing ways that some people might tell you, no, don't go that way because it might be dangerous, or you might end up being blamed for something or being unhappy. Yeah, but if it's not about that end point, that peak experience, but about the journey there, then you leave your comfort zone, you go beyond fear into your learning zone, and you're actually able to grow. And since you cannot continuously grow, and the bow cannot always be tied, so to say, so you need these periods of action and rest. And as a matter of fact, that's how your autonomous nervous system is built up. It's built out of two systems, sympathetic and parasympathetic, and they work in combination with each other. So we need to challenge and we need to rest. Let's see what's on the next slide. Yeah, so in your comfort zone, there is no development. So it's nice to be there. And as much as I know what happens if you take cold showering, for instance, as an example, as much as I know what happens when I get into a cold shower, and especially when I get out of it again, I also love being in a warm shower. And both are okay as long as you do both. If you just do one, that will be boring in the end, and you will not learn. So by challenging yourself, by getting out of your comfort zone, seeking that discomfort, you will grow. And by staying inside of our comfort zones, we will never live our true potential. And I think that's sort of the silver lining in the story, that we are capable of doing so much more. We are capable of greater things than we're actually doing now. And if you consciously choose to just be now and not do anything, that's fine. But we are a kind of mammal, a kind of species that's capable of growing and learning and evolving. So we can use this brain and this body for something beautiful, create a beautiful, more beautiful, better world, for instance. So maybe you want to ask yourself the question, what do you want? I sort of asked the same question a couple of slides ago at the beginning of the talk. We're quite some minutes into the talk now. So what do you want? Maybe think about that for a second, and maybe think about it tonight, the coming days. What do you want out of life? Because it's your life that you're living. And if you start thinking about what do you actually want, what feels good to do, if you do more that makes you happy, spend more time and energy doing things that make you happy, which can be tiny things, then you will create a life that fits you more, that is more your life. So for instance, I like being alone. Whereas I'm a very public figure and everybody can approach me, but I also like to be alone. So I need to take care of those alone moments every day. I get out of bed real early before the rest of the family wakes up. Then I go out into the forest, watch the sunrise or something, sometimes with my dog, sometimes without my dog. But that's my moment. Rest of the day, I'm sort of public property. And I do that with love because I chose to do that. But I also need my alone time. So again, balancing these things. And that's something that I want. Then I have to make sure that it happens because nobody else is going to arrange it for me. I need to do that myself. It's my life. So I need to create that. And I think that in my years leading up to the burnout, without me knowing it, I was in a victim role pretty often. It's like, oh, but my boss says this, and he or she wants me to do this. I never said no. I was always saying yes. I was always doing my best to please others, but I lost myself. I lost connection with myself there. And by taking the responsible role again, actually pausing, standing, coming to a standstill and think, oh, does this feel good to do this? Does it feel good to go to the left? Because everybody is telling me that I should go to the left? Or does it feel better to do a right turn here? And despite what others might be saying, it feels good to me and I'm just going to do it. So I've learned to not be afraid of other people's opinions, even though they may have the best intentions, but not be afraid of those other people's opinions as much, and not be led by them, which I did a lot previous.
And how do you balance that out? Because there's a way in the middle, of course, because if you only do whatever you want to do, then you are also going to be miserable because no one wants to be with you anymore. So how do you balance that out?
From living in the present moment as much as possible, taking the responsibility of being aware of the fact that I am responsible for my life and that I choose, because I could live a hermit's life. I could go live somewhere in the bushes and everybody could do that and not be in contact with anybody else. But that's also, and some people like that, so people do that. I've got a friend in Canada. He lives in this little wooden shed in the woods, and he's happy there. All good. But I think most people are more interactive and want to connect more. So then you have to, I think, from that responsible role, being honest to yourself, choose to also sometimes do things with others, and you might not. So it's not a 100% story. You're true there. You cannot be one or the other. It's always a back and forth. So it's give and take. It's what sometimes there needs to be some water in the wine, as they say in the Netherlands, and that's okay. Just be okay with that, without losing yourself in anxiety again. Like, oh, but now I'm doing that again, and then I'll lose my. No, it's okay, but do it from your heart, so to say, from the responsibility. Hold yourself accountable for what you're doing, and if it feels a bit scary, do it, because you're going to learn something new there. And to me, this is all mindset related, because mindset creates your reality. Your mindset creates the choice you make, and a choice will result in a certain action, and a certain action will result in a certain result. So your mindset creates your reality. And coming from that negative, closed mindset, the victim mindset, to a more responsible mindset has given me more peace of mind, has made things more calm inside of my body, and has led me to be better able to be the eye in the storm. Because there is always a storm going on. No matter what it's called, there is always stress, but you can choose to be the eye in that storm. And that's a mindset thing. So training your mind, and I think that mental health care has a nice challenge there. Training you for the coming years, training your mind to be you and not the thoughts that are in your mind, and that is a very, very important way. And that's also, I think, why studies into meditation and all kinds of which used to be crazy oozy woozy hippie thingies are now getting more and more attention, because for decades and millennia even, we have known there is so much knowledge here already, but just not in an evidence-based setting. And mindset, so I think mindset will be one of the next frontiers of science, by looking into mindset, by combining mindset with MRI studies, so functional studies where you can actually image the brain, seeing what happens in the brain when mindset training is done. And that's also what we do with Wim, the Iceman. When we put him into scanners, we see that there are actually certain areas in the brain that light up, that are more active when people are practicing certain mindset exercises, which makes them create a reality which is more happy, healthy, and strong. And all of this balance revolves around connection. A lot of people trapped in their minds, and I was too. And I found out that connection is a two-way process, inside and outside. So when you're inside your head a lot and you're thinking about stuff a lot, overthinking, in this society, we tend to overthink stuff. We're inside of our heads a lot, but we need to get out of there and need to start looking and trusting and connecting with our hearts again. And as I see the world, so sort of, there are in this whole process of connecting, I have always been myself, but I was the ultimate pleaser, helping other people, not taking good care of myself. And in this image, you see sort of three. Oh, I just go back one. There are three trees behind. That's a jawbreaker, behind each other. The smallest one is you. Then surrounding that are others. That's your network. That's your circle. Your inner circle. And then surrounding that one, there is the third layer. That's the world. And I think a lot of people spend a heck of a lot of attention on the others. What are the others doing? What are the others saying? Maybe I should. Those kinds of things. Please the others, don't please yourself. But I think all of this starts and ends with taking good care of yourself. So if you nourish the little tree, yourself, if you love yourself a bit more, then you're able to love others more. And if we all do that, then we will start loving each other more and taking better care of each other and taking better care of the world surrounding us. And then it's interconnected again. So taking better care of yourself, mentally, physically, on a whole, holistically, is the best thing you can do. Living your life is the best thing you can do in order to together create a better, more beautiful world that we're living in. And we do that by connecting. Like, for instance, looking at each other. That's also why I asked at the beginning of this session, maybe it's possible to turn cameras on the other side so that we can see each other. And even though we might be on different continents, in different time zones, you're still able to connect with each other. So there are good things to technology. It's not all bad. There is good in social media too. It helps you connect to other people. But then it's easier when you look each other into the eye.
So we need to. Still a little bit scared also to ask questions. So I would like to invite them still, either via questions and answers or via the chat, or raise your hand, virtual hand, so that our technical person can help you get the question online or the sound on. So everything is possible. You don't have to, but we would like it, wouldn't we, Bart?
Yeah, thanks for reminding.
Makes me a little bit less hardworking. Also.
Or maybe people just like listening tonight, which is fine too. Who knows? So in essence, I believe that communication is something that we can continuously keep growing in. And communication is not only talking; it's also listening. It's also letting go of the limiting beliefs that we have inside of our heads. We've come up with an uncountable amount of beliefs and rules in our heads, And maybe they were originally planted there with the best intentions. Do not stray off this path because a family of bears live there and they will eat you if you do not keep on this path. That might be a rule. Another rule might be do not drive faster than 30 kilometers in a domestic area. That's a rule. And they're all there for the best intentions and to keep people safe. But sometimes we need to go beyond those rules and see just one step beyond what's on the other side. Leave that comfort zone a bit. This is not a call for everybody to go drive 120 kilometers in a domestic area, obviously, or go down that path and be eaten by a bear, because it doesn't need to be that extreme. But for instance, see what happens if the next time you approach a situation that scares you. See what happens if you, with the right intention of self-love, loving yourself, and being open to the learning experience, if you take one step more in the direction of that fear, see what happens. Chances are big that nothing strange will happen. You probably won't get eaten. You probably won't get killed. But maybe you can learn yourself something new, which you can incorporate into that ever-growing comfort zone of you, which will help you to let go of limiting beliefs and live a more balanced and happy life. So how, you might ask? Well, by living in the present moment as much as possible. I've made this slide with now and past and future. And usually when there's a crowd in front of me, I'll ask, what's the similarities between past and future? And to me, the similarity is that they do not exist. The only thing we have, the only moment there is now. So the more we live in this present moment, the more able we are to live a stress-free life, the more able we are to be connected with ourselves and with each other, even though if it's through a screen, because I feel very, very connected to Maduka now, because I see you, you're there in the room too, we're in the same session, we're in the same space. And that goes further than just being in a box like a house. So, and that all happens now. That doesn't happen like 5 minutes ago. It doesn't happen in 5 minutes. No, you are there now. I am here now, and we're both on the same planet here now. So the more you live in the present moment, the less stress you need to perceive. One of the most important, I've got some slides with words, takeaways for me, things that I have learned a lot about life with over the last few years. And maybe the most important, besides living in the present moment, living in the now, is learn to breathe efficiently. Because we all breathe, and breathing is, so taking in air and blowing off carbon dioxide and other breakdown products in your breathing cycle is the way that we connect. Sorry, dry throat. Is a way that we connect with our surroundings.
You're not allowed to cough nowadays, you know that.
Oh yeah, sorry. I will do that just to go beyond the comfort zone a bit. So breathing is one of the most important things that I've learned about over the last few years, which helped me reconnect with myself. And the Wim Hof method is in a large part based on breathing exercises. Buteyko breathing, there are like numerous amounts of different breathing techniques, but they all have one thing in common. They let you reconnect with yourself. Come to a standstill in all the challenging, troubling times that we might be living in now. Reconnect with yourself in this present moment and realize that 9 out of 10 times you're okay now. You just need to inhale calmly, deeply, and exhale calmly and deeply, and repeat that a couple of times to reconnect and calm your system down. Calm those two disbalanced parts of your nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic part of your nervous system, rebalance them again, and let you regain control of your internal situation And if you control your mind, if you control your system, you can control your reaction to whatever is coming at you. And breathing is by far the most efficient way to do that in the least period of time. You could take pills or stuff or external things, but breathing is something which is innate to us. It's inside of us, and it's super, super powerful. And I think it would lead too far to go really deep into breath work. But maybe some of the other sessions during the festival will go into that. And otherwise, hook up with me after this session. It's super, super powerful. Yeah, and I had to put nature in, obviously, because as a back to your nature coach, I cannot do without nature. And I think that I'm convinced that we are nature, and we are inseparable from nature outside. So the more we go into nature, rewild a bit, unfuck ourselves a bit, let go of that domesticated stuff that we've been doing all decades long, the more we become us again. So go outside, go play, like kids go play in the forest. You do that too. Take your shoes off, walk on your bare feet, connect. And there is even science proving that this helps. So it's not all hippie mumbo jumbo. It's true. And as a what's the word for it? Like an extreme variant of nature, go play around with cold. I was afraid of cold when I was in my pre-burnout period. And then during my burnout period, I saw a movie of Wim. I didn't know he was the Iceman. I was on YouTube. I saw a movie of a crazy guy swimming past an iceberg. And I thought, this is BS. This cannot be true. Then I dug into it, and he said he was the Iceman, and he said he could teach anybody. And 1 year later, I started practicing and playing around with that cold. And that was hell for 4 or 5 days. But on day 6, I was warm in the cold. So something switched inside of me. And by playing with cold on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't mean that I'm in an ice bath every day or that I am on cold mountains every day. But I do something with cold every day. I challenge my system. I actively seek discomfort. I challenge my system to be ready, to be awake, to be ready for what is coming. Because we have an interactive, adaptive system. We need external input. We can do a lot with our mind, but we are also connected to this nature outside. So we need to play around with it. And the extremes, like cold or very hot temperatures, if you look at the spectrum of temperature as one of the things that you can play around with, that you can learn from, is highly, highly, highly efficient to help you get more control, more peace of mind, and more connection, a better working immune system, by the way, which is something we all need these days. So play around with that. You might end up on cold mountains with crazy guys, bare-chested, in very, very cold temperatures too. And maybe also embrace the mystery of life a bit more. We were talking at the beginning of our session about the more holistic approach, and that mental health care might, maybe also, or healthcare in general, it would also be wise to have a more holistic approach. And I think embracing the mystery of life, looking in wonder at the awe of life, will always help you be present more in this present moment and open to learning new stuff, and also not as narrow-minded as we have made ourselves in this society. And even this guy, Einstein, said that imagination, what Einstein used to do when he had a problem, he used to go out into nature. He went for a walk and he wondered about everything he saw. And that would obviously oftentimes lead to new insights, which led to problem-solving statements that he is very much known of. So he actually said that if I could choose between knowledge or imagination, I would choose imagination always. Because if you can dream it, you can do it. If you have a broad and wide imagination, then you can use that to create the knowledge that might be necessary to create a life that you want to live. Imagination is key. Mystery is key. And observe. probably, yeah, that will probably be in one of the next slides, but just observe the mystery, observe life without a judgment. So without having that judgment ready, like, that's not big enough, good enough, tall enough, small enough, whatever. Just observe without judgment and learn. And that's what I do each morning when I have my alone time, when I go out into the woods. I observe. I'm there in nature, doing not much, but observing, just being. And we might need to get to a situation where we see and know that feeling is knowing. It's in the Netherlands, they say, yeah, seeing is believing. Maybe also in other countries, I don't know. So seeing is believing, but maybe we should flip the switch, flip the coin, and go from seeing is believing to believing is seeing a bit more, which also aligns with the holistic approach. If we have an open mind, and if we are able to believe more of what we're feeling, stay connected with that, and then start seeing stuff, then we know that feeling is knowing, because we know what feels good. Our body knows what to do. As I said a few seconds ago, don't judge. That's also one of the, and this is a difficult one, because we tend to judge a lot, fill in the blanks. When people start talking, your brain is already filling in, it might go in this direction. And based upon that, we judge. But the less you judge, the less attached you become to whatever is happening. And you can just observe and be. Not always easy, but a big life lesson to me. Trust, yeah. Trust your system. And I say it lightheartedly, open, vulnerable, but trust is one of the most important things or concepts there is. If we learn to trust our bodies, our minds, our being a bit more every day, just needs to be a bit more every day, then we can look inside better, and we can observe, if you look at it from a holistic point of view, the self-healing capacities of the body. We are in our own way, we're standing in our own way. So if we get out of our own way and trust ourselves a bit more, we are able to create a way more beautiful and connected life. Not always easy, but worth a shot. Visualization is something that can help here. When you visualize, for instance, in meditation or in thought exercises, mindset exercises, your brain will be more able to create the reality that you're looking for. So there are heaps of examples, like top athletes, they visualize their actions in sports, for instance, before they do it. There is research showing that visualization is just as effective as actually practicing. For instance, basketball playing, shooting 3-pointers. There's research showing that that has the same amount of effect by just visualizing it or actually doing it. So let alone combining it, visualizing the life that you want to live, using your mindset, and taking little steps in creating it is super powerful. I have a friend who had a bipolar disorder for 30 years, and up until the point that he found out about the Wim Hof method, the mindset exercises, nature, he was just in his miserable bubble. And then he started using the techniques like visualization to create a better mindset, a more open mind. Your brain doesn't know the difference between inside and outside, so you can use that thing to create this more balanced, beautiful life. Reflect a lot, journaling, keeping a journal at the end of the day, for instance. I did that for a long time on paper, and now I do it electronically. Reflect on the day, like what beautiful stuff happened today. And each and every day, no matter how challenging your life might be, something beautiful has happened. And if you reflect on that, if you pay attention to that, then that will grow. And that will help you from a predominantly negative mindset to a predominantly positive mindset. just by the act of reflecting on the beautiful things that happened a bit more than the things that might need some more attention, or what we used to call negative things. What you put your attention to grows, and reflecting helps to put attention on more beautiful things. You can do that alone, inside, at night, at a table with some paper, but why not go outside again? Incorporate nature into it. Go outside, sit down, observe, reflect on your day, and then, for instance, go to bed at the end of the day. Yeah, and play around. Obviously, we already talked about that. Play around more, make life more playful. It's not a competition. It's one big playground. So if you make your life more playful, you're way on your way to unfuck yourself, to make life less complicated, live in the present moment more. Take your shoes off. Took this photo yesterday, especially for you, Maduka, because you said that we were talking about taking shoes off.
Do you have them off now?
Yeah, I do. You want to see? You don't
yes,
believe me?
Yes.
There is
no
promise. Shoe there. Yeah. So this helps. This helps connect our nature with the nature that we live in. So take them off and walk on your bare feet. We've got these barefoot tracks here in the Netherlands, blote voetenpad. They will probably also have them on other places in the world. And when you look at it, it's a crazy Western thing. You go to a certain area, you pay a couple of euros or dollars or whatever, you go through a fence and you take your shoes off, and on the other side of that fence, you can do the same thing as you did on the first side of the fence. Kind of crazy. So I just like to take people outside into nature with their shoes off without paying for it, because nature is us, is free, it's there. Practicing gratitude is also one of the most important things that helped me get out of my burnout, of which I'm actually grateful now. It wasn't a nice time. It was a very, very challenging time, but I'm grateful, because if it wouldn't have been for that burnout, the chances that I would have now been talking to you guys on the other side would have been incredibly small. The chances that I would have been living the life that I'm living now would have been zero. So when you can be grateful not only for the positivity in your life, but also for the challenges in your life, life becomes more satisfying, more fulfilling, more beautiful. You can end up in a cold bath like this, being grateful for the cold. And coming towards the end of this talk, I would like to leave you with a few words. Be vulnerable. It's one of the most powerful lessons I've learned over the past years. By being vulnerable, actually doors open. And I was afraid of being vulnerable. Nobody taught me in the academic world to be vulnerable. No, I just had to have an answer ready all the time. I had to know everything, or at least think I know everything. But now, sometimes I'm in front of big crowds, and then a question will pop up, and I will be happy to say that I do not know. And I will be happy to show up on my bare feet and talk to an audience and share my personal story. And I think the more everybody shares their personal story, the more vulnerable we are, the more powerful we are too. And I think we all deserve that, to be empowered and powerful in connecting with ourselves and with each other. There you go, connecting. So connect to inspire others, and especially also inspire yourself to be you, because that's the best thing that you can be. And then life becomes playful again. You enter new dimensions, you have a whole playing field ahead of you, and a beautiful evening with a crowd on the other side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bart. It was a wonderful speech, and I recognized a lot of things, and you also inspired a lot, I must say. Shall we wait a second and ask if the crowd, there's still 19 persons, maybe we need to deduct ourselves, has some questions? I can see one popping up. Jaime says, very nice. So You inspire people.
Yeah, but you know, it's about you. My story is your story, and we all have lessons in life, and by being more open and vulnerable to those lessons, and by sharing them, we can all grow, and we can all keep learning and evolving into ourselves.
And Liam Paulus says, very interesting and very whole presentation.
Oh, thank
so
you
I
very
think
much.
You left some marks here and there. That is good.
That is good. Then I'm grateful again for the fact that people enjoyed.
And Jika says, super beautiful to hear your stories. Thank you for sharing this.
With love.
That is also very, I recognize that actually being vulnerable is so scary, and actually you give a lot to others. Huh?
Yeah.
You touch their souls. Hi Bart, this is Bea. Indeed very inspiring. Thank you very much. I'm on a similar path, but still scared of the cold. Well, I'm also still scared of the cold. It does not work for me. It needs to be warm.
Oh, yeah,
but
well,
I'm
that's
getting there. Maybe you need to bring me sometime.
Yeah, the invitation is there.
I have a Scandinavian husband, and he also, they have the attitude of skinny dipping in the middle of winter. Yeah. And I recognize also what you're saying, that if you do skinny dipping in the middle of winter, first it is very cold, and then you're actually warm.
Yeah, true.
And you can sit on the beach and actually be warm. Yeah. Anna says, thank you, Bart. Being human is a tough gig, but you make it all seem worthwhile. Simple is key.
Yeah.
And Michelle says, thank you, learned a lot. And Lisanne asks, what about the times you don't feel to do these things you're suggesting? How do you still get yourself to step out of your comfort zone and do it anyway?
Start by doing something that you do not like to do in the morning. I don't like cold showers, but still I do it. I made myself a promise that I do something that gets me out of my comfort zone each morning, and then I'll feel good afterwards. And that feeling I take into the rest of the day, which helps me do other stuff the rest of the day.
Very good. And Maureen says, hi Bart, thank you for sharing. Just curious, what was your best experience yet? I like that question. That was out of your comfort zone.
That's a good question. I don't know. Well, jumping out of a plane was pretty interesting. Being in cold water for about 45 minutes was pretty interesting too. So there are lots of crazy things that, or at least things that other people might call crazy. And giving my first ever talk about myself instead of neuroscientific stuff that I learned. That was major discomfort at first, but it ended up in nice comments, so I just kept on doing it ever since.
Very good. And Anne asked, do you have any good tips for clear decision making? How do we tune in to figure out what path to take?
Trust the process and trust your body more. And that's easily said, and that's a journey. But I started out with some slides on don't believe everything you think. And so get out of your head, get reconnected with your system, because your body knows. 9 out of 10 times your body knows. So sometimes I just ask my body a question, a very specific one. For instance, does it feel okay to go stand on my head in front of the crowd now? And then immediately you will feel no, or yeah, do it. And if it's a yeah, do it, go. Because you know, you innately inside of you know that this is the right way. And you can play around with that. It doesn't need to be life-changing questions immediately, but just play around with it a bit. And start getting the hang of it, asking your body instead of your brain, and start listening to what your body is telling you.
Very nice. Yeah, I hope it answers the question. For me, it does. And if it does not, then we just see another question popping up. I can see Jikke is asking the question, do you have any tips on how to keep up with journaling?
Make it fun. A lot of like we're used when you say journaling, a lot of people will think writing. But if writing is your default mode, seek discomfort, start drawing. Print photos. I take heaps of photographs each day, and I could all print them and put them in my journal. So make it fun. If it's fun, you'll love it. If it's not fun, you'll stop doing it. So if you want to step into journaling, if you want to go do that, make it as fun as possible to yourself.
And do you only journal about the good things that happen to you in the day?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Usually I would advise my clients that start journaling to especially focus on the good things that happen in a day, because they will have a question about mindset or growth and issues they're dealing with. And if we keep spending attention on the things that we do not want to spend attention on, that we want to lessen, yeah, then we should spend more attention on things that are happy and positive. But if you have found a way in this and you are able to sort of from a helicopter perspective see your emotions instead of be your emotions, yeah, then you can write more stuff down. But initially I would say focus more on the positive things that are always there.
Oh, great. Thank you for that. I see no more questions, and that is also okay because we are just 3 minutes within the time frame that we chose for this presentation.
Super.
Normally, I would have a big flowers and whatever to give you to thank you for your speech, and I would join and have a small dance on the stage with bare feet to end this conversation, but after Corona. I hope that we will be together in this seminar and not a webinar again. And for now, I say thank you very much. You were very inspiring for me and for the rest of us, I think. And hope to see you soon in person.
Have an awesome evening.
Yes, you too. Bye. Bye, everyone.